welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be my favorite foundations for oily skin, and I have about 4 drugstore and then 2 high-end foundations, and I really wanted to share with you guys my favorite foundations for oily skin because I get so many questions on what my favorite foundations are for oily skin, because you guys do know I have oily skin and I'm constantly getting questions on like Snapchat and Instagram and as well as here on YouTube. So I figured I would bring you guys a whole entire video explaining why these are my favorite and how they work for my skin. So if you guys want to see my favorite foundations, then please keep watching. Okay, so in total I have about 6 foundations right here to show you guys. So I actually have 4 drugstore and 2 high-end ones, so that's even better for you guys because it's more affordable, and then there's 2 high-end ones. So the first one I want to talk about, I guess I'll talk about the drugstore ones first because obviously they are affordable. I want to talk about this one. I have been using this foundation for such a long time. I want to say I've been using it since 6 years now. I know I used to use this back in high school and it was one of my favorite foundations ever, and I still love it to this day, and it's amazing for oily skin. Supposedly this is supposed to be like a dupe for the Estee Lauder foundation. So this is the Revlon Color Stay combination / oily skin version. They do make 2 versions, so if you do have dry skin, definitely opt for that one, but this one is for oily skin, and this one is so amazing because it lasts on the skin for such a long time. It keeps me completely matte. Your skin looks super flawless, and I just love it because it has a pump, and I don't know, this foundation is just so good. I cannot get enough of it. I went through about 4 to 5 bottles of this, and like I said, this is probably one of my favorite foundations from the drugstore. Next foundation I'm going to talk about is the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless. Oh my god, when this first came out I was literally obsessed with it. I tried it and I haven't gotten over it ever since. So the main reason why I like this foundation is because it creates such a natural full coverage look, which is what I really love about it. Problems with pores, this is even more amazing because it will like minimize the appearance of your pores and it will create such a nice smooth canvas. If you don't have oily skin, they do have a dewy skin version, but I personally like the matte one just because it keeps me super matte all day long. I would say that this foundation lasts about 6 to 8 hours. I've even worn it for 9 hours and it lasts as well. So yeah, this is one of my other favorites, and you can find this at any drugstore. Next foundation, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen me use this in multiple different videos, and I still can't get enough of this foundation, and this one is like so amazing, and I just love this foundation so much. So this is the L'Oreal Infallible Matte Pro. This one's actually empty, so I need to get another one. This shade is actually too dark for me. All the shades in there are pretty dark, so I have to kind of mix to get my own shade, but this is the shade 103 if you guys were wondering. So this foundation lasts for such a long time on the skin. Like, I've worn this foundation for literally 24 hours before and it still looks good, and I love this foundation because it lasts. It just like conceals everything. It's full coverage, like full coverage, and that is another reason why I like it. I actually like to mix these 2 together sometimes because this one can be a little too thick sometimes depending on the coverage that I'm wanting or the kind of look. So I like to mix these 2 together, and then it's like even better because this one helps with the pores and then this one is full coverage, so it just makes everything better sometimes when I mix these 2, but even on its own I like them. It's also really good because it doesn't feel like really anything's on your skin, but it like conceals like everything. It's really crazy. So yeah, this is another one that I really love. And the last foundation, I actually just discovered this from the drugstore. I have been wanting to try this for literally years since it's been out, and I never really got a chance to try it out, mainly because it's like every time I would go to Sephora or Ulta, the shades would be like gone. So this is actually in Target now, so if you follow me on Snapchat you saw me talk about this, but this is the One Heck of a Blot All Day Liquid to Powder Foundation, and this is from Soap and Glory. So you can actually find this at Target now. You can find it at Ulta. So this foundation is really good because it's basically pretty different from any of the foundations that I own. So this is like a liquid to powder, so you don't technically need a powder to go on top, but what I really love about it is it dries completely matte. Like, I haven't tried any other foundation that dries this matte as this one, and that is because it obviously dries to a powder. But another thing that I really like about it, it just creates such a smooth look. Like, it looks like I'm wearing a filter on my face. Like, it's pretty crazy. This foundation has been one of my favorites, and I'm trying not to use it so much because I have a feeling I'm gonna run out of it because I've been using it so much. But it's just so good. You guys definitely have to try it. I'm in the color, I believe this was like medium beige or something like that. I'm not too sure. When I first tried this, I actually thought it was too light because I put it on and it looked really white, but then when I went out in the sun, it was actually my perfect shade. So don't go by the packaging, because the packaging obviously is a little bit deceiving, because this one looks like way too dark for my skin. But foundation, I have worn it multiple times and it's lasted about 12 to 14 hours, and the claims on the back say that it does, or it's supposed to last for 12 hours, and I believe it does, because I've worn it for about that time and it's never come off or anything. And it is full coverage. It's completely full coverage. Probably one of the fullest full coverage foundations that I own. Not even my like Estee Lauder Double wears this full coverage, which is amazing, because it's obviously a lot cheaper. And then it does say that it blurs away the appearance of pores and imperfections, which I totally agree with that. I actually use the One Heck of a Blot primer underneath this, and as well as my Benefit Professional, and it just looks so good. You guys definitely have to try it. Find it at your local drugstore. These foundations I have are two high-end foundations. So the first one I want to talk about is the MAC Studio Fix Fluid, and this one has been in my collection for a while. I've been using it for several years. I've always loved it and come back to it, but when I used to have really acne prone skin, I felt like this was breaking me out, but I felt like my skincare wasn't under control, so I had stopped using it. But now that my skincare is under control and I have like a full routine using this, and it hasn't broken me out, which is something that I'm really happy about, because I really loved this foundation from the start because of the way it looks, the way it feels. So this foundation is amazing for oily skin. I feel like this foundation is really good if you're looking for something that's kind of high-end feeling, but it's a little bit more on the affordable side, because I feel like, to me personally, MAC isn't that expensive compared to like Estee Lauder and Makeup Forever. So you guys can definitely go to your local MAC counter and find this. But this foundation lasts for such a long time. It looks amazing on the skin, and it's full coverage. Doesn't make me shiny, doesn't make me oily. I feel like probably after like 15 hours, then it starts to make me look a little oily, or maybe even like 8 hours. But if I set it with a good powder, it doesn't get shiny or like smear or anything. So I really like this foundation as well. Like, this one is really good. The last foundation I'm going to talk about is something that you guys probably had seen on my channel, and you have kind of been wondering why I haven't been mentioning it in some of my videos. But the main reason is because when I used to use this foundation, it used to break me out so bad, but I figured out why it was breaking me out, and it's because I wasn't taking my makeup off completely how I should be. So I'm going to try this foundation out again and see if it's actually breaking me out, because I've noticed that with the MAC one, I've been completely taking off my makeup, and I know before I would just kind of wash my face with a regular cleanser. It was like way back in the day before I actually had a skincare routine. So this foundation, I used to use it all the time, and I felt like it was breaking me out. But this foundation looks so good on the skin, so full coverage. It lasts for such a long time, and the main reason why I like this is because if you sweat with this foundation and your sweat like dries, makeup is still matte and it still lasts on the skin. This is one of the foundations that probably lasts the longest in my collection, because I've worn this for over 24 hours before, and it still looks good. It still looks amazing. I've gotten so many people hooked on this foundation, which is kind of crazy because it stopped working for my skin, but nonetheless, this foundation is still good. Even though it does break me out, I will still continue to use it. I actually only bring out this foundation when I'm going to events, because I know the longevity of it is good, and I know how it makes my skin look. And this foundation is actually good for oily skin, and it's good for people that have kind of combination skin, because I feel like it's not over drying, but at the same time it adjusts to like where your oils are, if that makes sense. It's just super good. It's foundation to anybody that has oily skin, is looking for something that's very long wearing and something that is going to make your makeup look so smooth and so flawless. Okay, so that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing my favorite foundations, high-end and drugstore. If you guys would like to see more of my top favorite products, then definitely let me know down in the comment section, or give this video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so I don't get lost in the YouTube world. Don't forget to check out all my social media, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!
I like to cha-cha in a Latin bar, yeah, with a Dominican that resembles hyena, yeah. I like to cha-cha, I like to cha-cha.